And welcome to Saturday Racing. It's September 28th, 2019. We have winds out of the east-northeast at about 11 miles an hour. It's beautiful out here. It's about 83 degrees, but out on the water it's cooler. All right, 40 seconds to go. We have a windward leeward course set up between these two marks, the orange and the yellow. And when you're the windward boat, you must stay clear of the leeward boat. So some of our sailors don't always remember that. And we have 20 seconds to go. I like how Celia and Barbie are up here on the line. There's 15 seconds. Now Barbie's over at the moment, but they'll probably dip below. Be okay. All right, so 5 seconds to go, and that port tacker needs to stay clear. 2, 1. All clear. And the boat that was at the buoy end got the best start, I think. Now Filbert, who started on port, now he had to duck 2 sterns, but he's sailing on a closer angle to the windward mark, and that's Burley Smith steering. 90 years young. And so all those years of being on ships and stuff is paying off for him. Burley goes to Greece a lot in charters too. All right, so these other boats need to be aware that the port tack is closer to the objective, and so every minute that they're sailing on port and you're sailing on starboard, you're probably losing 3 to 4 boat lengths. So you want to flip over and get on that favored tack. So Barbie, number 2 here, did do that, and now they just need to get their mainsail in. It's not tight enough. It needs to come in about 6 inches. So that is like your throttle, and this is what develops the power to punch through the waves. So they need to get that in, and now everybody's on port tack. Now if Filbert over here, who went first, if he gets any kind of a header, that means if he's heading more downwind, okay, then he should tack over, because he'll then gain a huge amount on the boats behind him. So he's looking for any kind of a shift to the right to tack over on. And then he'll consolidate his lead. And then it's very easy after that. You just cover your competition and you got the race won. Now, let's see what happens. So Barbie, number 2, because their main is not in all the way, they can't point as high as that boat ahead of them, Filbert. And so they're just kind of falling behind. So yeah, they need to get that main in some more. I think he pilled it in about 2 inches, but it needs to come in another 6. Now, these are the veterans over here, and see, they've been pinching quite a bit, and this means they're not in the groove. They need to get that boat hooked up in the groove and get it moving. The way Celia is. Celia's got good planing ability, good speed. But now Filbert, way over there, has tacked on to starboard, and I think they're going to clear Celia and consolidate their lead in this race. Yes, they are. And so now all they have to do is cover the rest of the fleet, and that means on the windward leg, just stay in between the rest of the fleet or your main competition and the objective, so that if there are any wind shifts, you'll get affected about the same and not hurt by taking a flyer off to one side or the other. Here we're at the weather mark, and Filbert's going to round in first place. Looking good. And y'all go around the offset mark. There they go. They were going to head dead downwind. We didn't have the offset mark a few weekends ago, and we had a collision as a result, so we're going to really try and have that set. They almost didn't make it, but since the waves aren't too big, they had enough momentum to head up and get around that windward mark. And here comes Barbie. That's Bill Denyer helping out, coaching with the vets, and they look like they're in the groove now. All right. All right, so Filbert is going to take the honors in race number 1. Good job, Burley. And then we have a bit of a tight race here for second, but you see how the yellow boat is on a hotter angle? They're moving faster, and their velocity made good to the finish line is quicker, is higher than the other boat. So they're going to finish second. That's Celia in second. And third is going to be Barbie. And Paul will be fourth. So we'll get started in the next race right away. Here we are at the start of race number 2. And we have 45 seconds to go. And the blue boat is checking which end of the line is favored. It looks like the bow is pointing more to the other end, the far end, so that end is favored. All right, 30 seconds to go. So now if it's pointing more to the far end, that means you want to start in that third of the line nearest the yellow buoy. And Barbie's getting set up very nicely. The blue boat is over the line. Now line me up with the marks, okay? At 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All clear! So the blue boat just made it behind the line at the last minute. So I think that Barbie, number 2, way down at the far end, got the best start. Now they want to be looking for a little gust and maybe a header to tack in, because again, you see how Filbert on port is heading closer to the objective, which is over there. That's the closest tack. That's what you want to be on. And every minute that they're on port and the other boats are on starboard, Filbert's pulling ahead, probably 1 or 2 boat lengths every minute. So these guys on starboard need to think about that. If I was Celia, the yellow boat, I'd tack right now. And Barbie too. I also see glassier looking water over there. It looks like the pressure's not as great there, whereas right over here on the right side, we've got more wind to work with, which means you're going to go faster. So that's another reason to tack out of there. So it looks like Barbie did. They're going to have to duck Celia, but so what? They're going to gain on them as long as they're on the closer tack to the mark. All right. Let's see what happens. The blue boat is footing more than pointing, and so they got great boat speed, but they're not pointing as close to the wind as the other boats. So Celia, this yellow boat, has been gaining on them and making weather gauge. That means distance to windward. Now Filbert, who went all the way to the right, has tacked over there on starboard, and it looks like they're going to cross all the boats and stay in first. Yeah, they will. And Filbert is first around. Amy steering. Good job. They've got their weight placement just right, all squunched up forward. And Celia's right behind them. All right. And here comes Paul. All right. We're at the finish, and Filbert wins again. Followed by Celia and Barbie and Paul. Start of race number 3, and we have 50 seconds to go. The buoy at the far end is favored by quite a lot, so this boat is getting set up for a Portec start, is doing it smart, because that also puts you on the favored tack. Now the blue boat's going to try and mess them up. We've got 33 seconds to go, and they'll probably attempt to block Filbert down there on the far end. They need to slow down and just do those S turns like that. Good. 20 seconds to go. Now Barbie needs to stay up closer to the line. You want to not stray too far. 13 seconds. And Filbert should have slowed down more, I think. All right, 6 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and Barbie's on the line, and the blue boat is kind of on the line. And Filbert is starting on port. I don't think they're going to clear Celia, so they need to watch out and stay clear because they're the port tacker. But if they can get that boat moving again after they tack and stay in a clear lane of air, they're going to do just fine. Now Celia is pinching right now, and so they could have rolled Filbert actually had their main in more. The main is too loose. It needs to come in about 4 to 6 inches, and that'll give them more power. Okay, so Filbert's getting going. See how they're just pulling away from Celia? That's because they're trimmed in right. They got their weight right. And so now they're flipping over onto the favored tack. Now this is smart because they're going to go closer to the objective. And Barbie tacked over too. So actually Barbie's ahead. And Paul, the blue boat, is not in the groove. They're not sailing on the wind. They're down about 15, 20 degrees. And so the other boats are gaining on them. All right, let's see what happens. And here's Filbert leading the way again. I think Burley has something to do with that. And we have a tight situation here, but I don't think the yellow boat's going to lay the mark. Now, they should be heeling that boat to leeward because you can gain a few degrees of pointing ability if you do that. But they just didn't start doing that soon enough. So they're going to have to throw in a tack. And be careful not to hit Barbie. And remember, when you throw in these last-minute tacks, you want to steer with the sails as well as the tiller and rudder, because these boats have a relatively small rudder, and they don't respond quite as well unless you steer with the sails too. So, you know, if you want to head down, you ease that main. If you want to head up, you trim it in a little bit. We're having a little excited discussion here. All right. Hey, come home for your award today.
Well done, guys. Excellent performance.
Excellent.
And come face the camera. And congratulations. Thank you. Sensible boy.
Beautiful.
Madam. Good job.
Don't put your back to the camera.
Navigator, please, face the camera. Where's the camera? All right, here we go. And the winners for September 28th, 2019.
Bye.
See you next week.
Sorry.
Talk about consistency. Everybody had the same finishes every race. That's a first.